Welcome to episode 200 of the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This week I'm joined by James and Paddy as we once again cover all things Celtic. Paddy, this season it's been Celtic who are going for 55. We're now the world's most successful club of all time ever. And as of the weekend, we've even gone and claimed Tina Turner's Simply the Best as our very own. Make it make sense for me.
What a tune. What an absolute toe tapper.
It's an absolute banger.
Regardless of whether it's ours, whether it's theirs, when you go to
It's
ours, I know. When you go to Ibrox, the mega mix is one of the best things about the whole trip. You've got Penny Arcade, you've got Tina Turner, absolutely brilliant. And it was nice to see us just commandeering that on Sunday. So an absolute banger. Do we play it at Celtic Park? Of course we do.
Absolutely. Childish Petty, yes. Sign us up.
I'm all for it.
That aside, Paddy, your general take on the game, the 1-1 result?
Just an end of the season fixture. It lived up to a dead rubber, I thought. I thought both teams just flinging at each other. It was not one for the neutral. We should have won. We should have won in the grand scheme of it. Created some good chances. I wouldn't even say we rode our luck at times as well. I thought that we played some good football at certain points. I think the big man had a couple of good chances on Sunday in Arne Engels, and he'll be, I know he'll know himself he should have put some in him away, and then the chance at the end, we done more than enough to win that game.
Yeah, and we'll get to Idah and Daizen Maeda just in a bit. But James, your own take, there's a lot of off-field stuff, and we'll get to that. I think it's important to get to that after the events of the weekend. But for now, your assessment of what played out on the park.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go with Paddy there. It was an end-of-season affair. I thought we were in control first half an hour. I thought we ran the last half an hour, and that period in between is really just, maybe even the last 15, 20 minutes of the first half. When they got the offside goal and it was ruled out, it seemed to cow us, which was just ridiculous. I thought we were running everything before that. Just strange. And I would say Engels in particular, he was looking really bright that first 20, 25 minutes. That happened, the whole team seemed to shrink a wee bit, and he pretty much disappeared out of the game, which, I'm a big fan, so lessons to be learned there. In terms of quality, not a lot. In terms of Daizen the last minute, I was up on my feet screaming at my telly. And Kenny, fair play to him, he's made a great run, he's put himself in a great position, as has Rio. But you've still got to back Daizen. If you were given a choice, choose your own adventure, would you go for who's going to take the shot here, Daizen or Kenny? Maybe Daizen.
From that angle?
Well, because he made that poor angle himself, I think that's that last touch, and he kind of knew it. There's a brilliant picture, have you seen it, of Daizen running away from Tavernier?
Terrified.
It's class.
Terrified.
He's like screaming at the goalie or whatever, Aye. So we could have won it at the end there. Totally agree with you on Idah. I've backed him all the way. I think I'm out of backing. Really?
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to put a wee bit of focus on Arne Engels, on Daizen Maeda and Arne Engels, but all a wee bit later on. Okay. But just in the moment, I think for me the most important thing was not to lose that game, just for the narrative that would have created going into the final weeks of the season and throughout the summer, the Summer Cup. Rangers going too early with their banner at half time, whatever it said, a season of beatings to be continued. Get your win first. Just hold that back, lads.
There's chat saying that they're meaning that off the park, but
so
again, they were running about on Argyle Street not that long ago as well, so I don't know what they're meaning there.
Even if they had won that and that banner was brought out, beat us as many times as you want if you're going to win the league by 17 points and 40 odd goals.
Yeah.
Well, what they're clinging on to, it's the levels.
Silver medal experts, but they should sit tight on anything like that. I think, as I say though, the most important thing, not to lose the game. A winner would have been great. And for those who are talking about dead rubbers, I wonder just how many folks like you got up off their seat in the closing minutes with excitement of what that might have been. But as I say, not losing was the key. And not losing whilst also missing some really important players. Alistair Johnson, Nicholas Kuhn. We know Jota's longer term and he was out very philosophical. Did you see his Instagram?
Aye.
I hope he's doing all right, but he's obviously going about for a long time now. And no Kasper Schmeichel, although unassailable, James, I thought had a fine performance.
I think he's shown himself to be a fine goalkeeper. I mean, in terms of squad, we sketched it yesterday. I think we had 4 first-team players started the game yesterday. If you're looking at developing the squad in the next season,
is in 4 guys that will be good enough to take us forward?
And I would say 5, including unassailable.
Right, so who would the 4 out with the goalie be?
Unassailable, Carter Vickers, Kalmack, Engels, Maeda.
That's the only 5 you trust?
The 5.
No Nicholas Kuhn's, no Jotas?
Well, Kuhn was, I'm saying who started the game.
Who started, okay.
Hatate, inconsistent, which you could argue for Engels as well, but Engels is developing. Hatate isn't easy the other side of it,
Okay.
I need consistency for Hatate or gone.
I thought he played well on Sunday?
I thought he was out of it until he was in it.
I thought that ball through for
You know what I mean?
Idah. That ball through for Idah was
Class,
excellent. He
yeah.
bust a gut the full game, and I actually thought he'd done a lot of the dirty work on Sunday for us in the middle.
I thought he was good as well, but I can see all sides of it. When you watch certain moments, you're like, could we do better there? Could we do it with a bit more urgency? But he's also got a certain quality. He does slow the game down. He plays at his pace,
Aye.
but he's also got that killer pass.
I do have to say for their goal, he needs to read Cherny cutting in on his left foot. That's all the boy does, and he doesn't read it. And then they got on the counter when they get past him. So him and Greg Taylor.
I don't know.
Don't need to go there for now. To stay with Unassailable, so Ross Gallagher, who's someone who follows us on Facebook, he was in touch earlier today, and he was asking just a general question on what would we see as some of the real pleasant surprises of the season. His own take is that Unassailable emerging as a genuine contender, and generally the good business that was done by the club to bring in the real experience in Schmeichel and the real potential in Unassailable is looking like the perfect piece of business now.
Spot on. It could be bolstered by Ross Doohan as well.
Yeah.
If the
Aberdeen goalie.
Daniac wants to go and play football, maybe. And fair play to him. You know, he's done a job and filled
He
that
should
role.
just sit tight for the testimonial.
Can't be
Why
far
not?
away.
Why not?
But yeah, we actually said at the time, to be fair, that looked like good business in the summer.
Mhm.
You know, looked like really smart business. Sinisalo wouldn't have been expected to get his chance by now, but you know, events conspired to give him that. Couple of times on Sunday, I thought he was excellent. I think the most important one was a short pass back from Carter Vickers.
Yeah, he was sharp.
And he was right sharp.
Yeah.
He was on it so quick, which we speak about it a lot. The hardest thing being a Celtic goalie is you're not involved, and then you're involved, you know, and crucially involved. He was so sharp out of his box, took the danger right out of the way, and then tipping the ball over the bar. That can go tricky as well from deflections.
That's getting in. It's dipping that one.
Oh no,
Aye, good
definitely. Yeah.
save.
And then he's down low to his left. Jack Butland, watch out, you know, for things like that as well. So, it's looking really good.
There was also a moment, I think it was in the first half, I'm sure it was, where he was really vocal with his defence pad. He was quite animated. You see it in him, and I think that's great. I think he's 23 or 24, something like that, but not afraid. And you can't afford to be afraid to speak to your senior players, you know, if they need a G-up or whatever. And I think whatever happens, you know, we can have the debate about if and when Kasper Schmeichel comes back in, but it looks like there's a genuine succession plan for number one.
Yeah, I would say so. And, you know, obviously not watched any of the guy before he signed for Celtic at all. I think it takes it takes a lot to come in and try and command that back line when it's been under the control of Kasper Schmeichel for the season. Big gloves to fill. And I think he's looking comfortable at it. I think distribution, I'm impressed.
Yeah, very good.
Knows that when the angle's cut off, he'll just have to play it long as well. But actually, he's taking the pace off the ball a bit. It's giving Idah more of a chance and trying to bring it down in those moments as well. So clever use of the ball, quick reflexes, as you say, in terms of coming out his box to get that bad back pass. I think, all the makings of what could be a good goalkeeper.
Exactly. He's shown all the attributes that you would hope for from any number one. So long may that continue. And yet, as you mentioned, James, Ross Doohan, former Celtic Academy goalie, who's done the rounds. I think he went away to, Ayr United and down south and found his way back up here. He played against us for Aberdeen up at Pittodrie when we were there. He was thrown in, the goalie got injured. He took a knock in the face from Kyogo by the knee, early bells. But by all accounts, he's been doing well, and if he comes back as our third choice, then so be it. Would be in a good shape.
It's a no-brainer as well. He's 27,
homegrown,
also Celtic trained as well, so it ticks two boxes for us.
Knows the way to Lennoxtown.
Aye, but it ticks two boxes for the Champions League squads.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Last general point before we move on to some more focused stuff on some players. James Forrest's wait for a 16th successive season as a Celtic scorer continues. Paddy, how do you think he done? He obviously started, which was a bit of a surprise had Kuhn been fit, but Kuhn dropping out then becomes the obvious choice. How do you think he done overall?
I thought he was excellent. I thought he had a really, really good first half. I think a better ball through from Arne Engels. He gets the goal. He gets the goal.
Not having it, James?
No.
I thought he was really. I thought his ball retention, which is his thing now, was really good.
Their big worry was Yefty couldn't contain him. I thought he was really, really good in the first half.
Himself and Greg Taylor killed their momentum on Sunday, cutting back all the time.
Cutting back, or did you say something else there?
Cutting back.
Did sound that. Go again.
Just all your positive momentum, all your energies going forward, and they cut back for the safe option. Taylor more than Jamesy, but Jamesy was doing it as well. It was killing me. And I know he did some good stuff as well. Aye. But that's not the game. Our game is forward, you know.
I get that, but I think for me, I used to always be raging when I looked at what Neil Lennon almost done to James Forrest. James Forrest was always a byline attacking player, and he took that right out of his game. He started to cut in a lot more, and he's very clever with getting into the box in those positions. But I think for holding the ball up and letting us get up at points, I thought he was excellent. And I know what you're meaning. It maybe takes the momentum out the attack. I generally think that they were having real problems in containing him. And actually, you look at the space he created for Anthony Ralston and some great crossing for Ralston on Saturday too. Just no one there to finish them. I know where you're coming from in terms of the getting straight to the byline, cutting it back, like we've seen from Nicholas Kuhn all season. But for that different approach, I thought it was more measured, and I thought he'd done well.
I don't mind cutting in; it's cutting back.
I think he himself is also playing within his limits. You know, if James Forrest
understand that, of course,
is no longer a bomb to the byline kind of player, and if you can't do that, there's no point in running down blind alleys if there's no end product. Maybe the message from the manager is, if you can't get there, retain it. We'll build the attack. You know, we'll come out the other side or whatever it might be.
Yeah, Rodgers is so hell bent in possession. He would be that. He said, unless it's glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
But I think we need to take. There's levels of risk. You know, I think we could be.
I'm
not saying for Lange ball, but Rodgers is so much much less risk.
There was one where he could have knocked it on and took on Leon Balogun, who we should have for pace. I remember that and screaming like, just go for it. But he'll have it in his head himself. He'll know I'm not the same pace I was 5 years ago. It's
also, and it's easy to say now that had Kuhn and or Jota been fit and available, we could have had a field day in the fullback positions. But we'll never know. But
and Kyogo,
let him go too soon.
No, I was right to let him go, but you need to replace him.
Yeah, that's true. Not done that yet. Last question on Jamesy. He's now got 4 games remaining to get that goal, 3 league games. So what have we got? Hibs next on Saturday coming at Celtic Park, Aberdeen away, and then St Mirren Trophy Day, and Cup final, of course, 24th of May. Will I get it?
Aye.
Confident?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Aye.
Here's hoping.
Cuts back and then scores.
Let's see. Let's focus on Idah, and let's call it Idah's game of 2 halves on Saturday. I thought he had a poor first half, generally speaking, and that key moment you spoke about, Paddy, where it opened out, I think it was 3-on-2. The whole thing opened out, and he just had to slip in James Forrest, and it was the pass of a guy lacking confidence and belief for me. It was just too short and bobbly, and James couldn't quite get in the end of it. And there's calls for him to come off at half time, need to make the change, Yang, whatever you need to do. But the manager stuck with him, and he got the rewards with Idah getting the equaliser on the day. I think he does brilliantly for the goal.
Great feat.
A lot of the shine's taken off it because it was deflected and it was maybe offside, maybe not. It's his first touch where he's back to goal to create an opening, which gives me further encouragement that there's a player there. And he's quite off the cuff just now. He said, like, there's moments of brilliance, that moments of poor quality, the James Forrest pass, for example. But you indicated earlier on that he's not the man for you. Tell us why.
I just think it is that he's fallen into the inconsistency camp, because I've never doubted his ability. I think he's got talent all ends up, and he's developed his game with a bit of back to goal stuff as well. But he just shows no composure in the box. And for a striker, you either need to be sharp on it, like Kyogo, or just be very composed and pick your moments. I thought he took his goal really well, particularly creating the opportunity, the clever feet. But I thought he was so bad in the first half. It was just killing me. And I just don't know if there's much more he can develop. You know, the coachability aspect, is there much more development to go? He said he's had the time, been in with the quality coaches, and with Rodgers. It's not happening. The worry is you need to play a crucial Champions League qualifier, Champions League game next season, whatever, and he's your striker. That is a real worry for me.
He says he had the time, and he certainly has in terms of the training field time. Do you think he said the game time, the consistent runner starts that you might need?
You're not getting the game time because you're not showing it in training.
I suppose we don't know for sure, though, do we?
Well, if he was showing it in training, he'd be getting picked. Simple as that.
Daizen Maeda doesn't form his life. That also could be a reason why you're not getting picked.
But should never have been Daizen's jersey to take.
Yeah, he's taking it. Just in terms of that game time that he gets or doesn't get, I'll ask you both. This isn't even the quiz yet. This is just an early part. He's made 49 appearances this season. He's scored 18 goals, which is respectable, right? He's probably going to hit a 20-goal season, which is respectable. But when you play 50-plus games, you'd maybe want a wee bit more, even though he's the backup striker, I think it's fair to say. And just in terms of the stats that support that theory that he's a backup, how many starts and how many appearances off the bench has he had out of those 49 games? What's the breakdown, do you think?
Roughly 10 to 40.
10 starts.
10 starts, 40 off the bench.
It's more than that. It's reasonably more than that. It's 22 starts and 27 off the bench. So it's decent starts. 22 games to start for Celtic, given the quality. And at times Kyogo was there, and then he moved on, and Daizen's doing his thing. Would you expect more? There's a lot made about the fact that Paddy, he was unsettled in summer. He didn't have a full pre-season. Maybe there's an onus in the player to still stay sharp, stay fit. But when you miss out on that key part, managers and players talk about how important that time, those 3, 4, 5 weeks of pre-season are. If you miss that, are you maybe constantly playing backup? Is it too kind to him to say we'll see the best of him next season, or should he be doing more now?
For me, I don't even think it's I was watching the game with Johnny on Sunday, and I'd say that he looks as if he's just slow on the turn. He looks as if he's slow in getting to the ball. Johnny countered my view and said there's no desire. There's just no desire. And actually, you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't believe in your own ability, you're not going to make it at Celtic. And I even look at that one he was through, and people are saying he's tried to dink it. He's nowhere near even get a proper connection in the ball.
I don't know what he's tried to do, to be honest.
It's ran away from him.
He's got between two.
It's ran away from him. He's indecisive.
He lacked the cutting edge, the clinical edge at that key moment. That's the moment. Despite that, his goal record stacks up against Rangers. Is that 3 goals he's got? He scored in the 3 each game. He scored the one on the cup final, as we know. Scored there again. I think that's his 3, isn't it? So he's doing his job there. He scored the big goals against Villa in Europe. I suppose, again, to my point, he can do it, but to really make it Celtic, you need to do it consistently. You need to do it to the level that a Daizen or a Kyogo's doing just now. Yeah,
I think the goal on Sunday and the stats you've just read there make it that you could put him in a shop window and let him get his move in the summer. It might be just a bit of Mikey Johnston. The Celtic pressure is too much for him. I can't see it working out for him. Really can't.
That's what I was going to say. I'd like to see the ratio of the goals when effectively the pressure's off. Do you know
I mean,
that sense? No, I know, but I'm talking about for this season.
I think there's both from Admeda. He scored when it doesn't really matter, and he scored when it does matter. That maybe sums him up.
Last season he was scoring when it really mattered.
No, absolutely.
Motherwell Hibs.
No weight on the shoulders though, and I'm not even talking about the price tag. He's expected to be the number 1 striker that Kyogo's left, and I just think it's been too much for him.
Look at that finish in the cup final, right? The confidence, the power, the energy in that compared to his one-on-ones on Sunday. Night and day, different player. And
I just wonder, we ask this question a lot, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of sports science and sports psychology and that type of thing, but you'd like to think that maybe someone's working with Adam Idah just to make him the best, most confident version of the player that he can be, because as you say, he's got the raw attributes, he's got the tools in the locker. It's when he decides to bring out the tools is the question. Last question on it then. Can he become our first choice striker? And at 24, he turned 24 in February. Is there still room for development for Adam Idah at Celtic?
No, sell in the summer for 5, 6, 7, whatever you can get.
But somebody asked the question, if you can get your money back, would you take it? But you would take even less?
No, I'd take your money back, of course, but I think you'll get between 5 and 9. The stats he's got, are reasonable compared to some of the nonsense that goes on.
Champions League goal scorer.
Yeah, Champions League, 2 against Villa, scores against Rangers, scores in cup finals. So you can certainly market him. I think it's time to cut our losses.
I really want him to stay and kick on. I really like him.
I'd love it to happen.
What's your take, Paddy?
I don't think he's going to be a number 1 striker, and I think therefore as I mentioned not that long ago, Celtic can't really have a £9 million striker sitting on the books, regardless of the value. We just can't do that.
Johnny Kenny can do that for flashers, you know.
Would Johnny Kenny come in and get those 18 goals, do you think?
No.
You need to give him a chance.
I don't know. I think regardless, if like me, you're a fan of Idah and like you lads less sure, regardless, Celtic will be signing a striker, and that makes his life, which is already quite hard at Celtic, even more difficult. That's a challenge that will face him come the summer. Let's see. Daizen Maeda. So it has been a manic week for him. He returned to Japan. You might have read reports. He returned to Japan early in the week as they were expecting the birth of his next baby, I think maybe their 3rd child, and that was delayed. That never happened, and he came back to Celtic, and by time kickoff came on Sunday, still no news there. That would play on your mind. There is absolutely no doubt that would play on your mind, in addition to the travel that you've already done. He didn't have a great game, James. He wasn't quite at himself, very quiet by his own high standards, and we know that he then went on to sweep the boards at the Player of the Year night on Sunday. He got Player of the Year, he got Players Player of the Year, he got Top Scorer, and he got the PFA Player of the Year. The man has just set this season on fire, but by his own high standards, he just wasn't quite there on Sunday, and that's understandable given what I've rhymed off there. On that note, do you forgive him for not squaring it to Johnny Kenny on that final moment?
I think it's a strike on the planet squares it to Johnny Kenny, and I don't mean Johnny Kenny, I mean to anyone. Kenny's done all the work and got himself in the right place. He's absolutely hammering it to get there. I thought he did really well to get in position, but given the form Daizen's been on all season, like say all the accolades, you've got to back him to score it. I mean the issue is, see when that's going on with a player, you go, don't you worry about it. You just sit to the out. We'll put on that striker that we signed in January instead of you. But we didn't sign a striker in January.
We did not. Paddy, what do you think? You can see why. Do you know what? See, if you've scored 33 goals and you've been absolutely flying, you can see why you might say, I'm going to take the goalie on here and score the winner.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
And do you know, sometimes unless Johnny Kenny and maybe Rio Hatate, who was up alongside him, might rightfully be raging, or certainly would have been at the moment. But from Daizen's point of view, or any number 9, you need to be ruthless and selfish to a point. All good strikers are. And you can forgive him for what he done.
He backs himself, and I think that we go back 2 seasons, and if it was Daizen running through, you would hope that he would square it. But Daizen of this season has had a massive range of finishing, so it's absolutely, he's well entitled to take it on. Ideally, we know how simple it is watching it on a TV, looking at the replays, that the best ball was into the middle for it to go, definitely be a goal.
He's got blinkers on.
Absolutely. These things happen with football. You actually just see him slow up a little bit as well, I think, and that comes off the back of, like you've just mentioned, all the travelling, a long season of football that he's played as well. I actually thought he was okay in the last half hour. I thought he'd done really well, actually. Like, what we were talking about in the first half is that it wasn't much going forward. But the one player that he kept out of the game in terms of balls into the box was James Tavernier. The only reason he was getting crosses in was for free kicks, which were getting given away from Greg Taylor at points out in that right wing. Tavernier was just, Maeda was told to sit on him. Don't let him up. And if you think about it, Tavernier wasn't in our final third other than free kicks. No. So he'd done his job in the first half, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I know sometimes, particularly with Mahomes, it can't all be all attack. He also, in typical Daizen Maeda style, James plays his role for the equalising goal. It's very Daizen Maeda. He finds himself in good space, burns Tavernier for pace. Good ball by Greg Taylor, credit where it's due. He gets in, but the touch is a wee bit heavy, and John Suter comes over, and I think he does that stupid thing as a centre-half where he's like, I'm just going to leather this off this guy. And it goes in the worst possible direction for him. It spins off Daizen's boot, and Idah does the rest as discussed. But he's, as much as he's played his part, I agree, quieter by his own standards.
Yeah, but even though it's pretty senior, he's like, I'm not in the best game, but I can keep Tavernier quiet. That's a given. So no issues there at all. Just one of those end of season.
Daizen out. He was interviewed. So obviously, had a busy night, as I say. He's left the game. He's gone to the Celtic event, then the PFA event, and he was asked at some point in the melee about a potential new deal, and he's been non-committal. He said that discussions are ongoing, but he wants to focus on the remaining games. Now, you can read into that whatever way you want. Some players might say that because they know they're off. Some players might just want to focus on the games. I would argue that Daizen is that kind of guy that just wants to get on with the job in hand. And summer will come quickly enough. May 24th, the season will end, and then any talks can take place there. I asked a question last week about any concerns. I do have a genuine concern that he moves. But, and mostly, not because he's a player who's unhappy. I think he's loving life at Celtic. You've seen that in his body language and everything about him this season. But because he'll be a man in demand, Paddy, you can't put in the numbers. He stats in the Champions League were following kind of running stats and closing down stats and everything else as well. Everything he offers would be a huge asset to a Champions League team. I don't mean like a team in the top half of England who are going to mess about and finish 8th or 9th. He could go and do a great job as a high-pressing, good finishing striker for a Champions League level side, and there must be people interested.
We're a Champions League side, but
oh, that's a good one. You've got me there.
I think we'll get another season out of him.
Right.
But he's going anywhere.
Quick point on that, on the gaffer last week, in an interview said, we're not going to win the Champions League. What's the point in taking part then? Shoot for the moon, Brendan.
Dirty dream.
I thought that was poor, man.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Rogers out, Daizen out.
Rogers out,
everyone
out. Idah out.
Yeah.
Kenny out.
Let's move on. But great for
Tina
Daizen. Tina, definitely. Big congratulations to Daizen Maeda, as I say. Big night for him, sweeping the boards as expected, and there's still a few games to go to add to those 33 goals. Off the field, I mentioned that, James, there's a number of incidents that took place. I'll rattle through them. So the Rangers banner has caused a bit of a stushy. It was an image, I think, of Graham Souness. It might have been Lionel Richie.
An attempt.
It was Bobby Ball,
who was on Freddie Mercury. So somebody with a moustache and a dodgy barnet holding a shotgun. The words underneath, take aim against the rebel scum. By all accounts, a Star Wars reference. I mean, if you're referencing Star Wars, I know it's the 4th of May, may the 4th be with you and all that, but I don't know. I don't get it. But Paddy, just quickly on that one, I don't have a great issue with it, but what's your own take?
All par for the course of rivalry.
Yeah.
No worries with that.
John Swinney, First Minister, gets involved, police involved.
This is the reason it's became a thing, is because the police have taken it into
custody. Your banner's now in custody.
I just let a normal day happen in Scotland, please.
Just, we sit and we called Fenian this and FDP and all these kind of things, and that's the thing that they want to pull out as offensive. Like, I don't think the banner is anything at all, but why are you looking at that when you're not looking at that? Tell you a story. Ended up on the underground by mistake going the wrong way on Sunday. From Partick.
What a move.
I told you this on Sunday.
You told me many things on
Partick
Sunday.
to Bridge Street. Myself and Cuckoo said, oh, it's a bit quicker if we go there. I was like, whatever. And then it pulls through. I was like, oh, no. And this is like 4 or 5 hours after.
What a pair of mugs.
Absolute mugs.
Would they try to get the banner on it on the tube?
Exactly. So you're just sitting there like looking absolutely dead ahead. No colours on or anything like that. But had to listen.
Hope you tucked your rosary beads in.
Had to listen to the songbook, right?
Right.
So that still goes on this day. You know, the abuse, the rape, and the Irish racism, the abuse of Catholics, all that stuff. And the First Minister wants to call out a banner which is kind of like, I don't know, a wee bit insulting or something.
Aye.
I've got nothing in the banner at all. Everything else I've got problems with.
Yeah, I get that. The Star Wars banner is the problem, but the anti-Irish, anti-Catholic, lots of other things seem to be the issue. And it's because it's visual, isn't it? Because you see the big visual behind the goals, but see if they put the words to some of their songs up on a banner behind the goals, then there'd be hell to pay, but it seems that you're allowed to sing them, just not allowed to write them. Is that the case?
At home, not in Europe.
Yeah, it seems to be a different rule depending on where Rangers are playing. But yeah, the big, much ado about nothing over the banner, but maybe there's a bigger picture to be looked at. A couple of other things, crass things going on during the game. Celtic players once again subject to missiles thrown from the stands. Sinisalo, I think, was in the receiving end or nearly in the receiving end. Bottle of Buckfast comes across the park. I think, did Danilo go and collect it, or some one of their players? Different players were on picking things up. Things like that, really poor, and it's just now par for the course for when you go to Ibrox. That just happens as standard. You might as well stop reporting on it because it just happens and nothing goes on. And the other thing, which I thought was really poor, was the Celtic fan apparently mocking the Ibrox disaster where 66 people lose their life. That person has subsequently lost his own job, and I don't know, it's just, there seems to be poor behaviour all around, James, and I don't know what, if anything, could be done to try and address that. Is that just what this fixture is and we just need to all accept it?
I mean, take the Ibrox disaster stuff first and foremost, just disgusting behaviour, you know? And it's like, it's not even referencing the time, because the people that died were colleagues and friends of Celtic fans and whatever, guys they would know from work or from the street. So there wasn't that, you know, there was an outpouring of grief from Celtic to Rangers and Rangers fans affected by that at the time.
And Jock Stein helping these people in the park.
So picking that up and trying to win points off it. What I'm surprised by, and the guy was a grown-up, do you know what I mean? He wasn't a kid. That's something over the years I heard from Aberdeen fans, never from Celtic fans in my peer group or our age group. Started to creep in the young side, which was disappointing, but kind of disappeared. And then to see a grown man doing that, disgusting behaviour. So condemn it in its entirety. Just, I can't believe it, really.
Yeah, Paddy, really poor all round. You know, whether it's that, the bottle throwing, there's so much going on in a day like that. And as I say, what are the answers? What can you do? Early kickoffs, late kickoffs, drink? No, I don't know. Is there anything you can do?
It goes very quick. Listen, this is the thing. We asked, what are Rangers doing? What's the league doing in terms of things to do with our player safety, our fan safety? This isn't just an isolated event. It's happened only this season. This is happening every time we go to that stadium, and we're going back 7-8 years as well. One of our players were nearly attacked by a fan. A battery was thrown at a player. You know, like there's so many different things that the league sit on their hands and do nothing because they want to protect the fixture. They don't want stands shut. They need to act on it, or else it's just going to keep happening.
You only need to do it once.
No, absolutely. And listen, it's happened at Celtic Park as well. I'm not going to hide away for that matter. I'm not playing that game, but it is every single time we go to Ibrox. And you know what? It wasn't even a goal that put us in the lead. It's a bloody equaliser, man.
Yeah. And a dead rubber.
No, and that's not me even trying to excuse it in any way at all. It's deplorable. It needs to stop.
Yeah. So certain level of games, Marcel's okay.
Aye.
What, wait, just
finals only.
Cup finals only.
Just quickly,
to
draw a line under it, James, where do you think the responsibility lies? SFA, SPFL, Police Scotland.
It's PFL, isn't it? You need to close that stand. So as soon as they start to move towards threatening Rangers with closing a stand in Europe, behaviour changes. So you've got
At least for a short time.
Aye, but they know that if they behave it again, it's a suspended sentence and they'll be gone. So they're not singing the songs they shouldn't be singing in Europe.
What do you think of points deductions? Whether it was
I don't think
poor
that's
behaviour by any set
I
of
don't
fans?
think points deductions are fair. I think shutting stands and taking, if you are causing your fellow fans to miss football games, you start to feel it pretty sharpish.
That's when there was actually a bit of frustration at the prospect of Celtic fans not being allowed to travel to Munich this season, and it really sharpened up a few opinions. And if that's, if certain behaviours lead to your fellow fans not being allowed to games, that's when things should start to change, if not sooner. It's a difficult one, Paddy. There's so much going on, and is it a football problem? Is it a societal problem? But it's a tricky issue for all involved.
It is, and I think, listen, we live in a footballing world just now where the ultra scene is such a big thing at this point just now. That's point scoring between rival fans. Like, let it play out to what it plays out to. But the fact that you're actually aiming a bottle at someone, a glass bottle, guy's just doing his job, man. Just let him carry on, play football. I just don't understand why it's allowed to kind of slip by the way it does. I don't see much from Rangers other than a statement every time it happens as well. And our governing bodies for the league should be doing something about it as well. But we sit and we wait like we've done for the last 7-8 times that it's happened.
Yeah, tricky stuff. And let's hope something is done to try and address it and try and improve it moving forward. It's disappointing to see so many of those things going on. Let's lighten the mood. Let's move on. Let's go to this week's 5 in a row. We've run it for a few weeks now, and the premise is I ask the lads 5 fairly quick fire questions about Celtic. The boys will write down their answers for now, and we'll reveal all the answers at the end of the show. If you're playing at home, now's the time to pause the show briefly, grab pens, pencils, and scribble down your answers. Are you fellas ready?
See.
Okay, question number. How did you fare last time? Not very good.
I got 4 out of 5 in my first attempt.
I
didn't last week though. I didn't do it last week.
Fair enough. Okay, question number 1. Celtic beat Rangers 3-0 in the opening Glasgow Derby of the season. That was at Celtic Park on the 1st of September. But who were Celtic's 3 goal scorers on the day? So 3-0 win back in September at Celtic Park. Who scored the 3 goals for Celtic? Question number 2. Man of the moment, Daizen Maeda, played in 9 of Celtic's 10 Champions League games this season. He was suspended for that Villa game. But how many goals did he score in this season's competition? So in those 9 games, how many goals?
I was writing down my answers to the last one. Could you read that again?
Yes. Daizen Maeda played in 9 of Celtic's 10 Champions League games this season. How many goals did he score in those games? Question number 3. Johnny Kenny made a rare appearance at Ibrox as he came on for Adam Idah in the 83rd minute. But what squad number does the Irishman hold at Celtic? Paddy's got it right. I've seen it. Seen your answers, mate. And number 4. Celtic signed Vojami Sinisalo from Aston Villa in the summer. But before making the move, he had loan spells at 3 different clubs. Exeter City, I think Gary Caldwell was his manager. Burton Albion, and which Scottish club where he played in the 2020-21 season? So Sinisalo had 3 loan spells away from Villa, Exeter, Burton Albion, and what other team? And finally, 3 players have scored a single goal for Celtic this season. Name those 3 players.
Oof.
Tough, isn't it?
Aye.
So 3 players have scored 1 goal and 1 goal only for Celtic this season. Who are the 3 players? Just while the lads are scribbling down their answers, a reminder that we'll bring answers to all 5 questions at the end of the show so we can all check how we've done. Let's move on.
Easy.
Aye, 5 out of 5.
You got a point for each scorer, didn't you?
Aye, so
9 out of 9.
Let's get to that when we get to it. Arne Engels, we spoke about him earlier on, and I do want to focus on him for a time. So, Daizen Maeda, picture just now, he swept the boards at the Player of the Year on Sunday night. Engels also picked up Young Player of the Year. In this breakthrough season, he's played 49 times and he's in double figures in terms of goals and assists, yet he still takes a lot of flack from certain elements of the support. Paddy, your thoughts on his performance against Rangers and on his debut season overall?
Very hot and cold on Sunday. I think the game passed him by at points. Some real moments of intelligence from him though. Probably, as you mentioned earlier on, the first parts of it, but it seemed like the disallowed goal spooked him a little bit. I don't know. I think for me it's part of the course that he's learning, he's understanding the speed of the game, he's understanding there is a bit of weight on your shoulders playing at this level, and you know you need to be able to carry the midfield at points. The way Matt O'Reilly learned, but we also need to remember that Matt O'Reilly didn't hit it off straight away in his first season. It took time. It took time, and I think that again, it's one of those ones. We speak about the full pre-season. It is important for players, and I think he's one who will benefit from having that time with the team. There is part of me that believes that he thinks he is one of the main men that should be there. I just think he needs to just be a bit more clinical with that thinking as well and say, actually, no one's taking this jersey off me. Yeah. Be that main man for Celtic.
He's confident without being cocky, isn't he? He speaks really well. I really like the way he carries himself, and for such a young man to be here in a different country, speaking really good English, I think he comes across really well and is quite a determined and ambitious young player. Yeah,
I think so too. And I think that we don't go spending that money for no reason. Stats are suggesting that he's going to be a big profit maker for us down the line as well. Celtic have high hopes for Arne Engels, and I think that he's in the right club. I think he's going to develop under a very good manager, and he's got some great players around him as well. So I'm not worried about him at all.
No, James, the bottom line is we cannot sign ready-made Champions League players. We can't go into Europe and buy Dortmund's hottest midfield or striker or any of these kind of clubs, wherever they may be. What we need to do is sign potential. Sign guys who are not there yet, but based on the scouting reports and all the data we've got, that might get there at some point. And I think that's exactly what we've got. We've signed a guy. We've spent a lot of money on him. We've spent 11 million. And what we've seen, again, maybe similar in ways to Adam Idah, is we've seen real flashes of what Arne Engels can do. He had a brilliant moment, was it last week, where he's done the kind of pivot on the halfway line, fired the ball out to Maeda. It's just a real moment of class. And he's littered this debut season at Celtic with moments of class, but he's not doing it every single week for 90 minutes. And I think that's also okay. We can only sign potential. It's a lot of money for potential, but it's a calculated risk. And I think Celtic double their money on this guy and then some moving forward. But at the moment, he's just the potential.
Yeah, he made that move on Saturday again, that swinging ball out to Maeda, and it's a peach, and it just gets you right up the pitch, So I've got zero concerns over him, and that's the term I've used a few times in this podcast. Zero concerns over him as a player. He's got the absolute fundamentals of a top quality footballer. I think he's been coached at the right pace. I think he's developing physically to handle the physical side. You saw in the early Champions League games, he was getting bounced off the ball a wee bit. I don't think that's the case anymore. It was at Kilmarnock Boy a couple of weeks ago, just bounced him into the ground kind of thing, So he's developing that side of his game whilst not losing that silky, classy footballing edge that O'Reilly had, but didn't have the physicality. No, I don't understand what you want in a footballer. The £11 million thing, if we see ourselves as a Champions League club, that is washers. Do you know what I mean?
You've always said this is the money we need to be spending now. We need to take the thinking away from being the 2, 3, 4 million experimental player and move with the times. We bought Bruni for 4 million, whenever that was, for example. We need to now move into this different bracket. I also think while we're on it, see if you need to pay 6 or 7 for Lennon Miller. If he's deemed good enough,
then pay it.
Then go for it.
Absolutely.
I think there's a snobbery from Celtic because he's at a Scottish club, and you lose the Lennon Millers and the John McGinns and even lose Fergusons and guys like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it can go.
But we need that from, to your point about doing earlier on, the homegrown thing, as long as he's good enough.
Yeah.
And it depends what kind of midfielder Lennon becomes. If he...
First name terms with the guy?
Aye. If he starts moving into, sitting back, because I don't think he's the fastest, but if he becomes the 6, and I think he's got the ability for that, then we've got a problem on the horizon in a couple of years' time in terms of that position. So he could play a versatile role for the first couple of years and then slot into the 6. And if you don't spend the money on him, you don't have to spend it on someone else.
Yeah.
It's a problem we've got.
And you've been able to watch Lennon Miller at close quarters for the last year and a half, maybe even close to 2 years. And to stay on Engels though, Paddy, he's the kind of guy, it's an early call, but I think in 12 months' time, he could be the guy sweeping the boards. He could be the guy picking up the trophies that Daizen Maeda has picked up this time around.
Everything in his locker, Tino, and I think that this is the season for him next year where he'll feel a wee bit more at home. Still got to remember how young these guys are as well, and I think like you can only get that experience for getting exposed and making those mistakes. Yeah. That's how they learn. That's how they're going to learn.
Have some bad games.
Absolutely. Get hooked after 60 minutes. You've had a poor one. You know what? Your manager's going to tell you why. Your coaches are going to tell you why. You're going to be ready for it the next time. And it'll happen again. It's football.
Yeah.
We need to be a wee bit more patient.
Yeah, and this is why they do all the analysis. I've no doubt that after any given game, they sit down with the players and they go through all the videos and the clips and they say, here's something you've done really well, that's great, do more of that. However, on that occasion, you were out of position, you took too many touches, whatever it might be, and you continue to develop the player. And then, I mean, I said that to James, I think he goes for at least 20, Paddy. You think that's going to be the
I do. I can see the figure. Like I say, we don't spend that money without thinking that we're going to get a good amount back.
Celtic don't spend any money. This is why we don't generally buy players at the top end of their career.
True.
Because there's no return. And I think
That's fair enough.
they'll have thought long and hard about the 11 million, but ultimately they've said, do you know what, he's a guy that can come and play well here and we make profit on him, let's do the deal. I think that'll be the thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Big year for him next year. A few things that I think he'll want to settle for himself as well, and that he knows that there's doubters. It's up to him to go and prove them wrong.
True. And he's found himself breaking into the Belgium squad this season, but finding himself falling out of favour as well. We'll be keen to address that. Last thing, James, I do think there are some Celtic fans who have become so entrenched in their position. You know, he's not absolutely ripped it up this season. Right? He's had a good, steady season, bit hot and cold as you say, but good, steady season. But there are some fans who are just saying, 11 million, don't see it. And they've become so entrenched in that position, they can't now come away from it. So every different challenge, whether it's a game against Rangers or a game in Europe or whatever it might be, say cup final coming up, there's people really waiting eagerly with the I told you so's for Arne Engels, and that's not the way to be, is it?
It's very strange, and it's more than just a handful of people. It's really strange behaviour.
It seems quite a lot, doesn't it?
Why wouldn't you want a young guy to do well?
Mm-hmm.
And he's one young player of the year. He's not getting that for free.
No.
You know, he's performing in Europe. He's doing his job for Celtic. He's developing, making mistakes. He's learning from them. He's building himself up. I don't understand why you're following Celtic if it's just to do a guy down, you know.
Yeah, he's one of our guys and he's there to be supported. But I think overall, no huge worry.
I seen a poll today about who would you rather, after the performance on Sunday, who would you rather start, Bernardo or Engels?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. We've got the two of them.
Do you know, it's okay to like both.
100%.
Yeah.
And both, as I say, Engels 21, 22.
He's turned 21 this season.
And Bernardo 24.
23, 24, yeah.
Guys are still learning, man. And I think, honestly, Bernardo, I liked what I seen when he came on.
Big time.
Yeah,
a real opportunity, and I thought he took it. It's brilliant. Keep that competition going. That's what we want in our midfield at Celtic.
And that's it. And it gives you a real strong option getting into this kind of final part of the season. 3 league games, 1 cup game. Let's have Engels and Bernardo vying to be the best midfielder, the best alternative to Kalmak and Rio Hatate. Long may that continue, and that should be the case all across your team.
Yeah.
Midfield, defence, attack, and we should embrace it and enjoy it rather than going, he's got to go and he needs to come in. They can both play their part. We're talking about, what's it going to be, a 54, 5, 6, 7 game season. There's room for all to be good at Celtic. And I'd like to think and hope that a few more folk get behind Arne Engels, a serious talent, and I think there's a guy there that's going to really switch it up getting into next season. Final section for tonight. You'll have heard news, I'm sure, today. Breaking news that Celtic will be taking part in the Adidas Trophy, the world-renowned, famed Adidas Trophy on Saturday, 19th of July. We're taking on Newcastle at Celtic Park. It's been pitched as the battle of the League Cup winners. Great stuff. Tickets now on sale, Paddy. £25 a go, but not free with your season ticket. And it's caused a bit of stushy because that would seem like an open goal. Yeah. Let's give a bit of something back, because what seems to have happened over the years is season ticket prices keep getting cranked up, and your value and your offer keeps getting stripped back. No qualifier, no friendlies, no nothing. Yeah. What do you make of it? What's your general take on that game and the fact you're going to need to pay if you want to go?
It's very out of touch with the fans.
Read the room.
Yeah. It's listen. I like to think that we're pushing forward. I like to think that we're actually starting to get a bit of a grip as how we're operating as a club. A big 12 months up ahead for Celtic and the board, in terms of what do they do with the manager, what do they do with who's coming in after him. Is it going to be Brendan's extended? Is it going to be that we take a step back in terms of who we sign this summer because he might be leaving at the end of the next season? They're asking an awful lot of their supporters. They really are. And we know that this is another record breaking year in terms of what we're going to be bringing in with the Champions League. I just think that they need to give a bit back. This is a fan base that paid full season ticket prices to watch a game on pay-per-view. Remember, this is a fan base that's backed their team through thick and thin, and I feel for me that is a real slap in the face to even ask £25 for that, but also the 5% increase this season as well. And then we were mentioning before the show, we've got a Champions League qualifier, which they'll be rubbing their hands at as well.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah, you think that'll be 35, 40 quid as well
Easy.
for that one. And that's the thing, you're getting a game. Obviously Celtic would far rather qualify automatically, but we've got a qualifier to play, and you need the backing of the fans to kind of roar you on and get you over that line. All the more reason, though, the fact that you know that game's coming and you know that game will most likely sell out. Give us a bit of something back, a wee bit of goodwill with the Newcastle game, because we all remember the pass to paradise and all that nonsense, but most of us done it. You paid for that season, and it was, in hindsight, I'm like, what we did? I was like, what was I doing? Anyway, by the by, but Celtic fans just continually show up, and obviously there's only, whatever it is, 52, 53,000 season tickets, but others back the club in different ways, buying all the merchandise, and Miff's a case in point. Miff's got all the season tickets and all the kits for his two wee boys and all those kind of things, and we know now there's 3 kits and sometimes a bonus 4th kit, and now the new home kit has also got a different pair of shorts, so wee guys will be saying, Dad, I want the shorts, Mum, can I get the pair of... Everything that goes with it, and Celtic fans continue to shell out, and I think it's as I say, the fail to read the room here, James. I think it was an opportunity to say, well, listen, this game's coming up, let's get the place jumping again, get behind the boys for pre-season. Season ticket holders, you can even you can say it's £10 for season ticket holders or something. Just give us something, and I just think they misread it all the time.
That's where my head's at. They could have worked. I mean, what's it cost to run a game at Celtic? I don't know, 200-400 grand, something like that. Something like that.
Don't know.
Probably not.
But yeah, stewarding, policing,
right?
Switching the lights on, whatever.
So probably not even. So you just say, right, it's going to be that. So see, you make it £10 to £15 a game. The thing that gets me is for these things is it's an opportunity. There's a lot of young Celtic fans that won't get to go to games because £700 a season ticket, or kids' season ticket, whatever it is, but your parents are maybe not going because they can't afford the £700, so you're obviously not going as well. You can't get tickets for away games, so there's no opportunity there. So when do you get to see your team live? You might be Celtic daft. You live in Glasgow, but you can't get to see them. That's when you get to see them. That's the opportunity.
100%.
Yeah, when do you get to introduce the fans of the future to Celtic Park and give them that wee glimpse? I went to that Newcastle friendly and that was me hooked for life.
Daizen's jersey.
And they'll sell out their allocation as well. They'll bring up a good crowd.
7,000 they've got.
Aye. I mean, it would be a great spectacle, but it should be for the fans. It should be free. It should be on the season ticket.
It's not the smartest pick of away fan.
How come?
Terrible form. They'll be tying up with Rangers fans. Terrible form.
Think so?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know that. But yeah, I suppose that remains to be seen. On the part, Paddy, it's just great to be in the final of the Adidas Trophy. I think we've done right.
It's been a long, arduous journey.
Another final for Brendan. What a guy! What a job this guy's doing.
I missed the qualifiers in the semi, but we're in the final, which is great. But just a quick one. What about Eddie Howe? Will he get a warm reception at Celtic Park?
I forgot. Who's that?
You booing him?
I don't care.
Don't care. Irrelevant. Fair enough. James, from a footballing point of view, it's a good game to have, in terms of, prepping with 2 Premier League oppositions last season, or the season that we're in, Chelsea and Man City, and they were good tests for us. So take all the politics that we've just discussed aside, it's a decent enough game, isn't it, just to get us up to speed? Yeah,
it's a decent enough level. I like the football Eddie Howe plays. That's the teams that we want to benchmark ourselves against. So it's decent quality. It's funny, so you've gone and won something at Newcastle, but you're not really anywhere near winning your league and stuff. So I don't know, with all the dough they've spent and the Saudi money. So, but it's good opposition. I thought Nicholas Kuhn benefited more than anyone from those high-level opponents in the summer.
He was magic.
Albeit it was over in USA, wasn't it?
US of America, yeah.
US of America. Not going there for a while. So if it's for these players to test themselves up against that level, I'm assuming there's more to come out in the wash in terms of other friendlies.
Yeah, we're playing Cork, City, and who knows what else.
First week of July, that one is 7th or 8th, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. But in terms of a test on the park, it's a decent game to look forward to. I just wish Celtic had maybe caught the right move PR-wise and just in terms of looking after the fans. But another missed trick there. Okay, before we finish up, let's cover the answers to this week's 5 in a row. I'll run through them quickly, see how you lads have done. Paddy, James is confident-ish. What about yourself?
Let me get that last name in there.
I was absolutely at it.
Oh, Paddy's sneaking one in out of time.
I was having a wee think about it.
Google working,
Okay, let's rattle through them. Number 1, Celtic beat Rangers 3-0 in the opening Glasgow Derby of the season. Celtic Park, 1st of September. But who were Celtic's 3 goal scorers on the day? Go for it, Paddy.
Kyogo was one. Maeda?
Yes.
And I couldn't get the final. I think it was
Cal
McGregor.
Cal
kind of slightly deflected.
I went for Kuhn over Kyogo.
So you need all 3 to get the point.
For goodness sake.
So 0 points for
That's
both.
harsh.
It is. Number 2 man of the moment, Daizen Maeda, played in 9 of Celtic's 10 Champions League games this season. He was suspended for that Villa game down at Villa Park. But how many goals did he score in this season's competition? 2.
4.
4 is correct. Can you name the 4?
Club Bruges.
You were at one of the away games.
Must have been Leipzig.
What's that? Oh, aye, Dortmund. I don't talk about that
Easy
one.
to forget. He scored the one in Dortmund.
Bratislava.
Slavan Bratislava.
And Leipzig?
No. High profile. Bayern Munich.
Aye.
At Celtic Park.
Aye.
So 4 goals, so point for Paddy, nothing for James. Johnny Kenny made a rare appearance at Ibrox, coming on for Arne Engels in the 83rd minute. What squad number does Irishman hold at Celtic?
24.
Would you go for, James?
56.
Oh, that's Tony
Nelson.
A man.
Okay, number 4. Celtic signed Voljami Sinisalo from Villa last summer, but before making the move, he had loan spells at 3 different clubs: Exeter City, Burton Albion, and which Scottish club?
At Johnson.
Ayr United.
Ayr United, that's correct.
Nice, well done.
22 league appearances for Ayr United. So
1 out of 4 so far.
what's your score? 2 out of 4? Oh,
2.
it's getting down to the wire. 3 players, this is tricky. 3 players have scored 1 single goal for Celtic this season. Can you name them?
Give us a point for each and we'll make it more interesting.
Okay,
Fair.
give us one then.
Tony Ralston.
Tony Ralston is wrong.
Taylor.
Greg Taylor's right. Scored against Rangers in the League Cup final.
At GT3.
Um,
CCV.
CCV's got 2.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, I get that one wrong, I know.
Anyone else, Paddy, on your list?
Scales.
Scales.
Arthur Johnson.
Don't see him. The other 2 are, so Greg Taylor, League Cup final. Austin Trusty, he scored the second goal in a 3-0 win over St Mirren in January. And Jeffrey Schlupp, he scored the opening goal. Remember, we played that Saturday night game against St Mirren. Beat them 5-2. He scored that in March. So let us know how you got at home. What was your final score, James?
Good.
Yeah, good, aye.
3 out of 8.
3 out of 8. We've got a winner.
What did you get?
What did you get?
Got 1.
1. So Paddy's the winner. But let us know at home. We'll post the questions on our socials. Let us know by reply how you got on at home. Just to close out the show, a couple of quick points. We'd mentioned that Celtic are linked with Ross Doohan, the Aberdeen keeper, as well as 17-year-old Serbian wonder kid. Any half-decent kid abroad
Wonder.
is a wonder kid. I'm going to struggle with his name here. I think it's Veljko Milosavljevic. Got him.
Aye.
From Red Star Belgrade. But regardless, Paddy, whether we get Doohan or VM in the summer, there's going to be lots going on. There's work to be done, isn't there?
There is. And I think obviously making the point earlier on about, there's 4 main starters that should be here next year just shows that we know the areas that we need to strengthen in. We know the areas that we're still falling short in. That left-hand side of the defence is a massive, massive worry for next year. Apart from Tierney coming in,
yes,
we still need to address that centre-half position.
Yeah. Do you know, it's so important to say that Liam Scales has now found himself back in the shot. Fine. Fond of Scalesy as a guy and what he's brought to the party, but he was so weak in that opening goal at Ibrox, wasn't he? Really cheap. That's leading with the wrong foot. I know he's all left foot, but that was there to be blocked with his right foot. Your positioning was all wrong, and it just sums up where we're at there.
He's
That's
also
got to
gave a
improve.
free header.
Which
It was between him and Tony Ralston, I think.
So I've got an interesting question on that. So Raskin is only interested in blocking Scales, right? And he does block him. And it's not through Scales' lack of awareness. He can't get there because he's blocked. I don't think there's a foul given for that. But I think in the modern game, it's not like Raskin just bumps into him. It's like he bumped into him in the street. He's deliberately trying to block his path and does block his path.
But who's on
that should be a foul.
Who's on Raskin? That's what Celtic need to be clever at.
You've got a guy who's effectively scored, 5'8", and he scored 2 headers against you.
Well, you talking about that one? You talking about the Balogun one?
Balogun. So
I'm talking about the Balogun
I know
one.
where you're coming from, but again, it's not just Scales in that situation. Scales should be clever enough to make sure that he's staying with his man, regardless. The yardage that Balogun got on him to get that run before him, he left early.
It was outrageous.
And I think that's the concerning bit. But then the other question you need to ask is who is preventing Raskin blocking Scales?
Aye.
So I know you're coming from with it.
But he's doing like a sack of totties.
It's not a foul. It could never be given as a foul, in my opinion.
But blocking goes on, and we've got to be aware of how any club sets up in terms of set pieces and respond to it, and block of our own, do our own thing and respond to that. But no, I just think bigger picture stuff, we've not quite nailed it defensively. There's work to be done there and across the park. So the young
we've not quite nailed it. We've made an absolute arse yet.
That's correct. That's another bit of word.
Very kind.
You say potato, I say
quite
potato.
Nailed it.
But yeah, so the Serbian lad, 17 years of age, by all accounts a serious talent, but whether it's him and would he be ready? I don't know anything about him so far.
Age.
But we need to address some.
But this is us keeping Lamal on the bench if he was playing at Celtic. Do young son on the bench.
Take it easy. Last quick one, and just to make it very quick, James. Not quite Celtic news, but you'll have seen the noise that Trent Alexander-Arnold has, done his big farewell at Liverpool, and he's going to be moving on from the boyhood club that he played for at 20 years. And to all intents and purposes, it looks like a done deal with Real Madrid. And Liverpool fans have lost their minds over this and calling him a rat and calling him this and that and the next thing. And I don't know if I've missed something, but I don't understand why they're so. I can understand the disappointment, but they're calling him for everything. And for me, there's a big responsibility on the club to have not allowed that to be the case, tell him to run it down. But he wants to test himself at one of the biggest clubs in the world, having won the Premier League twice, I think. He's won the Champions League, he's won the FA Cup. Football player moves on to other team and everyone loses their mind. Am I missing something?
How many homegrown players and under freedom of contract have Liverpool signed? I don't know, but it's no none. Do you know what I mean? So they don't mind when it's coming the other way to them, but nobody's allowed to leave them and go the other way. I don't think Trent Alexander-Arnold is anywhere near good enough for Real Madrid. I think he's good and bad, but absolutely, he's done well for Liverpool. He's served them well, and he's more than entitled to go on. Interestingly, his agent is end of contract specialist Ricky Gillis, who is also
Ben Doak? No,
Greg Taylor.
I think it's Jackie McNamara. It's Ben Doak. But my take on it, Paddy, my question was about the fan reaction. What's the alternative at Celtic? Would it have been had Kieran Tierney moved under freedom of contract to Arsenal at the time? Would we have responded in the same way?
There was a few that were calling Tierney a rat. At the £25 million deal. Not a lot, but there was people out there.
Name names.
I can't.
I think it's a mad reaction.
The thing for me is that the anger probably stems from the fact that, well, hang on, if you sign the deal, then somebody needs to pay big money for you. And I think that there's that element
the fact
of
they've not been paid, I get that. But that's where the club has a responsibility not to allow a player to go into that final year.
True, but we don't know, they seem to be cutting their negotiations fine at Liverpool.
They've left it late.
Of late.
Salah, Van Dijk.
So there's a whole lot at play. It'll calm down.
Yeah.
It'll calm down.
There was serious fury.
Serious fury, but you look at the size of their fan base as well. It's massive.
I thought it was an interesting one. Anyway, back to Celtic. Paddy, your final comments for the week.
I just looking forward to just, kicking on with the rest of the season. I think
Hibs on Saturday, an interesting test.
It will be 8 wins in a row for the Hibies.
Is that right?
They dropped points to Aberdeen, was it?
They lost to Aberdeen.
Lost
points to the
but
United.
Generally, they're in good form.
It just shows you that I've not paid attention to the rest of the results of the
Celtic's
weekend.
your team, mate. You don't
Of course, I know you're talking about Liverpool and that.
Yeah, I know.
No, I think it'll be a tough game. They've had a brilliant season, and they've really showed up in the second half of it. Well, from November, that game against Aberdeen. So fair play to them. David Gray's got them set up very well, and I think that when they came to Celtic Park in the Scottish Cup, we get the job done early, which was good performance from us. But other than that, they've been very impressive.
Yeah, they've been good to watch. So it's another game to look forward to on Saturday. James, your final word goes to you.
Yeah, I suppose it's apart from the cup final, the serious competition's gone out. Sorry, apart from hoping the Hearts still go down. It's not looking likely, unfortunately, but we can't.
Is there a chance?
Just quickly, Tony Bloom looks like he's going to invest there, and he's a smart guy. We'll catch stuff like this in next week's show.
He's already involved.
He's up in his stake.
I'm hoping to get 29%.
That could increase the levels. I don't want to see Hearts do well particularly, but I want to see Scottish football improve.
I'd rather it wasn't Hearts, but I'd like to see a third force for sure.
That could be interesting. But another segue, another team, Paddy. Liverpool, Hearts, where does it stop? But final word.
I saw me go. So be a good chance to see some players that aren't getting his regular game time whilst keeping the squad fresh and alert for the cup final, because that's what it's all about now.
Yeah, that's the focus for now. But that wraps things up on this latest episode 200 of the Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James and Paddy, and thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday of this week with our latest episode of CSC Stories, this time with the guys at the Philly Ploughboys, CSC. Really good episode with those fellas. And then again on Friday, as we bring you the countdown to kick-off ahead of this weekend's clash with Hibs. Before all that, take a minute to explore the Celtic Exchange Plus and the various benefits of being a member. There's a link to that in the show notes. But until next time, have a brilliant week. We'll see you all again really soon.